Hello everyone, nubkeks here and welcome back to Nub Raids. And today's video is a really fun video. If you missed it yesterday, I'm going to be going over and doing my forfeit for not winning the clan boss Clover Draft. Slight spoiler there in case you haven't seen it, but we're going to be spoiling the results here in today's video. But the Clover Draft we did over on Deadwood Jedi's channel. You can find the video over there if you want to watch the whole thing. I really recommend you do. You can watch the draft video as well. We had to build clan boss teams with epic only champions. We had to have a green champion as well. And for us content creators, we're going to get a giveaway. So stay tuned for that. I'll be doing that over probably after the weekend, I think. Stay tuned. But for those of us that did not win, we have to do two things. We have to dress all in green for a video, and we have to sing the praises of the winner. And I'm going to spoil who that is, so if you want to go watch this draft, make sure you go. We're going to be spoiling it, and I want to give you my thoughts on every single team and what they did well. I figured, if we're going to praise the winner, we might as well give a bit of praise to everyone, and obviously the winner gets the most because they won, and it was very well deserved by none other than Hell Hades. So Hell Hades is the winner, and we're going to be shouting him out today. Big time shouting him out today. First of all, we got to get green. And unfortunately, I don't have that many green clothes. And I thought this would be a fun way to show you, though. We're going to use the old webcam as well with the green screen turned off, so you can see this, because how are we going to go green? Let me move this out of the way for a second. The way we're going to go out of green is I have an old, this is why we need the non-green screen camera too. I have an old green screen, which by the way, has actually been dyed not green by the sun. So you can see like how that affects things, which is kind of cool. So we shall don our cape here, our magic cape of invisibility. And then Hell Hades, the winner, he's big into, his bandana for maximum damage. Now, I don't have a bandana. But I searched through all of my clothes to try find anything that was even remotely green. And the greenest thing I could find was this beautiful pair of underwear, which are now too big for me, actually. So there we go. So maximum damage, maximum losing the Clover Draft. We're going to wear this as a beautiful hat. The crown, the loser's crown. Oh my god, the green screen's stuck in the chair. So, on the Nub Raids channel here, we are tasteful, classy, always well presented. That is what we are going to do here today. So let's continue on, shall we, with our hats. We're just going to be like, woo, that's really fun. I should wear a green screen all the time and be this disembodied underwear-clad head. Delightful, delightful stuff. So let me scrub through. We'll go through each of these sort of in order. The first team I want to talk about, you can, by the way, see the teams here, and I do have some really interesting feelings, I feel, about this draft, having gone through it. The first team that was up was Cold Brew. Let me get the stats for him at the end. Looks like it's around about here. There we go. So Cold Brew came in. Cold Brew got 30. Let's actually full screen this so we can see. Woo, I'm invisible. 30.45 million damage. So he didn't quite make it to the 2 key, but it came pretty close. He actually had 2 green champions in there as well with the Nia and the Venom Mage. Lots of damage from the poisons, but the support champions that he had unfortunately didn't do too much damage. What I really liked about Cold Brew's draft, honestly, was he first picked that Nia, which is a really interesting pick, the White Dryad Nia, and he stuck with it. And I know from, seeing him in the chat, trying to build up the team, he was having a lot of trouble with this champion, getting her to target this properly, because she's going to target different people in a clan boss run, because you're getting beat up different amounts, getting her to actually heal the same target, to remove the stun, to reduce that target's cooldowns. It's such an amazing move, but on full auto, which our teams had to be full auto, I think, by turn 9, that's really difficult to do. So I really thought he did a cool job of actually sticking with the Nia and not subbing her out. She is still solid enough, though, for the ally protection and the weak version of strength, and on a 3-turn cooldown. We're going to come to that as one of the big things that I really learned from this and that stuck with me through this, we'll talk about my team in a second here. But man, having ally protection on a 3-turn cooldown is absolutely massive, and it makes a huge difference, right? If you compare, Jareg is a really good clan boss champion, but he has a 4-turn cooldown on his increased defense ally protection. There's a world of difference. There's just a rift between these 4-turn cooldowns and these 3 turns. There really is. But solid team from Cold Brew, survivable, consistent with the poisons. And I like that he stuck through with Nia. Let's talk about my team. So my team came up next. And we came in with, there we go, 37.95 million damage. So scraped the 2 key, just about scraped it, which I was happy about. But certainly we came nowhere near what the other guys were able to do. And this was definitely something, like I said, something that I learned. In fact, let me get this up for you. If we go to Hell Hades, ally protection, right? I thought this was so interesting. If we look at the ally protection champions in the game, and we just look at epics only, right? There's a few that do it. There's a few, but the ones, like I said, that do it on a 3-turn cooldown are actually very far and few between. And this was something that, again, I hadn't realized going into this either, was that what almost all of us ended up doing were building 2-for-1 teams, which is basically you take 2 turns for every turn the clan boss takes. And remember, the clan boss is on a 3-turn cycle. He does AoE 1, AoE 2, single target stun, and he goes through it, right? The problem with a 4-turn cooldown is that you're working on a 6-turn cycle, right? 2 turns for every clan boss turn, there's 3. You want something that's divisible by, that divides into 6 to make it easy. So that's where 3-turn cooldowns become really powerful, or 2-turn cooldowns. I picked Ruella, actually, as an early pick in the draft, which in hindsight was definitely a mistake. I don't have her. I had to pull shards for her. It was fun. But she has a turn meter boost on a 3-turn cooldown. And when I picked her, I thought that would be really good. I thought that would sub in well for champions like Seeker or like Deacon that do turn meter, and that can let you go 2-1. What I actually found in practice was that it's much more difficult. A 3-turn cooldown turn meter boost is so much different from a 2-turn, because with Seeker or with Deacon, 2-for-1, remember, 2 turns for every clan boss turn, you get your turn meter boost for every single turn the clan boss gets. So it's very easy to sync it up. When you're going 2-for-1, but it's a 3-turn cooldown, this becomes more difficult with turn meter. Works well with buffs if you have a buff extender, because then you can get full coverage. But with turn meter, it's more tricky. So that was definitely a mistake that I made. I just didn't understand how it works, to be honest. And it's something that I've learned, and it's given me a new appreciation for champions like Deacon and Seeker. And what I should have done instead was try to grab increased speed, which I had to sub in with Tagore instead. So, increase speed, give it a buff extension. You've got increased speed on everyone, and then you can get going 2-to-1, which was kind of interesting to learn. One of the big problems I ran into in my team was Sepulcher and Sandlash Survivor. When it came to defensive buffs and to trying to stay alive, and I'll show you the draft in a second, which had a huge impact, right? Sepulcher, amazing champion, but I've used her before in like a 4-to-3. Why? Because she has a 4-turn cooldown on increased defense block debuffs. It's not up all the time. There's gonna be gaps. Same thing with Sandlash Survivor, who's actually really good for this. So I'm in the wrong faction. Orcs is what I meant to click. There we go. Sandlash Survivor. She does have a 3-turn cooldown buff extension, which is amazing. But her passive that gives you ally protection, first of all, has a condition, which is awkward. But second of all, has a 4-turn cooldown. That was the big problem I ran into with my team. And I wouldn't really recommend my team either, guys. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't build it. Because that's the issue, is that you've got those big gaps. So you can't keep those buffs up all the time because they're on the 4-turn. We could keep up increased speed all the time when we managed to speed tune in the Ruella turn meter boost, but then it would get messed up by the clan boss stun because we couldn't control that. But you can sort of see interesting damage coming out. It was a fun thing. I definitely feel like the draft... Oh, I need to get the actual... Hang on. Let me get that for you guys. I don't have it right here. All right, we're back. I've got it. Let's fix the crown. fix the Cloak of Majesty. But coming through the draft, for me, this was a big problem, right? I got the first pick, actually ended up being useless, right? Because it was just banned away. In fact, all of these first picks, apart from the White Dryad Nia, were banned. I think this worked very much in Deadwood's favor because he got both Maneater and Skull Crusher, right? But I got this double pick here. I think the Dark Hail was okay, but the Ruello is definitely a mistake because the issue I ran into was we had these other picks, we had these bans, then I didn't actually get to pick until the end right here. And by the time we got there, I was in a tough position of going, well, okay. And I made a mistake here as well, I think. How many, I kind of wanted a buff extender, but in terms of increased defense champions or ally protection on a 3-turn that were left, there just weren't very many. You look at these, right? Jareg, great champ, but it's a 4-turn cooldown. Miscreated is 4-turn. Both of these are 4-turn. Kunoichi is really interesting. She has a 3-turn, and Madcapper did a great video where he broke this down. But Kunoichi, where is she? Here she is. She does have a 3-turn cooldown ally protection, but she gives herself a turn meter fill. I think in hindsight, I should have tried to get this champion into my team to have consistent ally protection, and she would have brought me a leech as well, which would have let me build everybody in Guardian set, and I think that would have been cool. But I was scared off by just not knowing how to fit that into a speed tune, which I think was my mistake. But she's actually, I think, not a bad option if you can figure out the speed tune. I was super impressed that Madcapper did. Sandlash has the passive on a 4-turn. 4-turn cooldown here. White Dryad was picked. Taragi the Frog was picked. This is where I ran into a problem. Taragi was gone, right? Skull Crusher. These are the two best, I think. Taragi and Skull Crusher, the 3-turn cooldown ally protects were gone. Rearguard slipped through, and I think, yeah, we'll talk about YST's team, but he showed how good Rearguard Sergeant can be. She wouldn't have fit in my team very well, but he built a team around her very, very well. With ally protection, continuous heal, 3 turns, very strong. And I do think one sleeper pick that Odd One Gaming picked up was actually Nizana, who maybe I should have gone for as well. I think Nizana has some potential. She doesn't do any damage, but I think it's an ally protector. She's like a budget Taragi. 3-turn cooldown, ally protection with a shield buff on herself. So she's like Taragi the Frog, but bad, basically. But probably still decent enough. I think Taragi is next level. He comes in. He puts out a shield on everyone, which is huge. Ally protection on everyone on a 3-turn cooldown. He heals himself with extra healing for a poison, so he helps himself stay alive. He gives shield and ally protection, which is so good. Then he's bringing decreased attack. He's putting out poisons as well. Taragi is just sort of insanely good for this. So he's on the next level. Skull Crusher, I think, is also on another level. Skull Crusher over here. He has ally protection with counter attack on a 3-turn with unkillable. He's harder to keep alive than Taragi is. He doesn't bring you the shield, but the counter attack brings a ton of damage. So I think those two are like on the next tier. And I think that's sort of the key for me, right? Getting that consistent 3-turn cooldown. Vergis has it as well, but he puts out a single target increased speed, could be a bit awkward. I think Vergis and Nizana, I slept in them a bit. And yeah, Kunoichi perhaps I slept on, but I was in a tough position of not having that ally protect, and that was a big mistake. So I thought that was just some insight into my team. If you were curious, where has my thing gone? It's over here. There we go. So yeah, that was sort of some insight into my team and what I was doing. Now we come on to the big boys, the 3 guys that did by far the best. YST's run was very, very long, and YST came in. I think we need to go back another second here. There we go. YST, unbelievable, cranked out 81 million damage. The thing about YST's team, this was very straightforward 2-for-1. It's just rock solid, right? You've got Hitatsu, increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown and healing. We've got Haikatune for increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown for 2-turn duration, right? Rearguard Sergeant, ally protection, and more continuous heals on a 3-turn cooldown. Godseeker extends them, so you always have ally protection, increased speed, increased defense, loads of continuous heals. You've got Geomancer, giving you passive damage reduction and deflecting it back. And yeah, then you've got decreased attack from Hitatsu and Rearguard. They're both a bit inconsistent, but the two combo together to make it consistent. You've got Leech from Hitatsu, decreased defense from Rearguard, the Weaken and the Burn from Geo. And And it's a really solid team. It's just rock solid. All the defensive buffs, extend them, keep them up all the time. Team survives forever for 24 minutes. And Geomancer deflects loads of damage. Even Godseeker hits really hard because she's got the increased defense and she can smack. She absolutely can. So I thought that was a rock solid team. There's nothing crazy going on here, but it's taking a bunch of epics. Obviously, Geo and Godseeker are known as S tier, but I'd say Rearguard, Hitatsu, and Haikatoon are all underrated. It's putting these underrated epics, I would say, together in just a very solid team, and it absolutely performs. Now we come to the top two. Let's talk about Deadwood first. Deadwood came in with, excuse me, sorry, not the top two, the final two, but YST, of course, came second. Deadwood, though, also got a 1 key with 70 million damage. And I thought this was, again, very impressive because we got the Skull Crusher, who's known for being insane, but we got Steel Skull coming in, Grizzle Jarl. This was a very clever team to me as well. What shocked me about this team was how high the damage per turn was. It was absolutely crazy. And the really interesting thing here was, again, that 3-turn counterattack with Skull Crusher. The increased speed from my boy, the mascot of the channel here, Archmage Helmet. And then the very smart thing was stopping the stun. This was like next level strat. Stopping the stun once with Skull Crusher, then the next time with Grizzle Jarl block debuffs, and juggling between the two. Or sorry, it was something like that. Or Steel Skull Cleansing. I must watch it back and see exactly what he did. But there was some like next level strat with dealing with the stun, which was unbelievably clever. Archmage was running like, I think 4 for 1, or so, sorry, 3 for 1. He was doing 3 turns for every 1 clan boss turn. So Archmage is really quick. Such a unique speed tune. You can see Anax 6-star pumped out the damage. That was insane. Definitely a little bit of luck for Deadwood Jedi that he had a 6-star and a 5-star blessing on these champions that let him get the 1 key, which is, you know, you got to take that luck though. But just a really smart team as well. But then we get to the man himself, the winner. And I think not only the winner of this clan boss draft, guys, but my God, he's what? Like, how does my bandana compare to Hell Hades? It's pretty good. He's won it twice. He's won it both times, which is just so disgusting. But what is so insane about Hell Hades' team? This really, really blew me away. It was his secret pick in Morag. I thought this was so smart. I actually really like Morag as a champion, but I never really thought about her in clan boss, right? But she brings in an ally attack, which is cool. But the big thing here is she has Strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. And in fact, let's get this up. Let me pause it. So if we go into Strengthen, right? The big version of Strengthen for your whole team, there's actually very few champions that do it. And in fact, out of all of these champions, really not many in the epics. We're talking about the epics. Morag is the only one that does it on a 3-turn cooldown. Remember, we're talking about a 2-for-1 team. So 3-turn cooldown with buff extension. Always have Strengthen up for every single hit. That's just crazy, right? That's just crazy. You've got a couple of epics. White Dryad, another nice one. She gives you ally protection in the small version of Strengthen, so that was cool. Again, Cold Brew's really interesting pick there. But man, there's just not many epics that do it. And the really great thing about Strengthen, and the crazy thing about Hell Hades' team, he does not have increased defense. There's no increased defense buff. Yeah, his team lasted for 21 minutes. And I thought this was so fascinating because I'm not really a clan boss person, but, you know, I know a little bit about it. And that's sort of one of the things that was sort of always taken for granted as being that rule that you must follow, that is there. If you're building a killable team, you need to have increased defense. It's the most important buff. And here's Hell Hades basically rewriting the rules with a winning team in the clan boss draft, which is insane, saying, actually, you don't need increased defense. Strengthen can be just as good. Now, of course, in Nub Raids fashion, we've got some mats to break it down. So if you want to know, and actually this is shout out to the other part of, another part, not the only part, but one other part of Hell Hades, which is the Hell Hades I chose a beautiful time to pause, Saf. We're really looking good, me and Saf here. Pause at this moment, me with my underpants on my head. We're looking fantastic, but I got the formula off of him, which is basically how damage reduction works in the game. It's actually quite substantial how damage reduction works, guys. So this is how it works. There's this formula, right? This formula right here, and you put the defense number in here, so you can do it yourself. You can just type it into Google and it will do it for you, right? Put in the defense, and it shows you the damage reduction. You get a ton of damage reduction from defense. Like with only 2,000 defense, you actually get 62.6% damage reduction. This is why Ignore Defense and Savage Set and all of that Helm Smasher are so powerful in the arena. That's the reason, you know, because it really ups your damage so much. And you can see, I just put in different numbers. So 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. And you can see how it scales up. It does cap out, defense does cap out at 85% damage reduction. That is as high as you can go from defense. Always 15% will go through no matter what. What I did then, I took some examples. So I thought this was interesting. I said, okay, let's imagine we're being hit for 100,000 raw damage. And let's go in. So with 3,000 defense, if we give increased defense, right, which is 60% increased defense, we actually go up to 4,800 defense, which gives us 81.5% damage reduction. We would take 18,500 damage. It shows you the power of these defensive buffs, right? It's mitigating so much. Now, interestingly, if we don't have increased defense, if we have strengthen instead, how does it work out? Well, it actually comes out at 19,875. So actually, I thought this is interesting. For 3,000 defense, increased defense actually is slightly better, but only slightly. But I think that's just so interesting because I guess when you sit down, you go 60% increased defense or 25% strengthen. I mean, 60%, that's way more than 25%. But actually, it's very similar. I went and I did this with 4,000 defense then, and what did I find? Well, 4,000 defense with this much damage reduction, you would get hit for 16,200 with increased defense on, right? If you did not have increased defense, but you had a 25% strengthen instead, you would ultimately take 15,675 damage, which is less damage. So I didn't figure out exactly where the cutoff point is, but somewhere between 3,000 defense and 4,000 defense, strengthen becomes stronger than increased defense. And as well, if you add in ignore defense mechanics, like let's look at this for arena, right? In arena, where you're expecting your enemies to have savage to ignore your defense, it's going to make this extra defense obviously worse, and the strengthen is going to be even more powerful, which is just that flat 25% damage reduction. I thought this was so interesting. But yeah, so there you go. I think that's just such an insane discovery. And it is a discovery by Hell Hades. And you have to sing his praises. Ash was the one as well who suggested Morag to him, gave him the idea, but he came and he put the team together with it, showing how powerful strengthen is at the defensive debuff in, you know, one of the toughest tests for it, which is Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. We have some crazy things happening with this team. We obviously have Taragi, who alongside Skull Crusher is that like S tier ally protector. Taragi bringing the shields, keeping himself alive as well. That was really cool. Claude, Beast Feeder, I think is just one of my favorite champs as well. I use Claude a lot of places, but again, I never use him in Clan Boss, but so clever because he brings increased speed on a 3-turn. You get that 2-for-1 ratio with a buff extender. Extend the increased speed, and you can go 2 turns for every 1 turn the Clan Boss does, which ups your damage. But he also brings a really nice shield. He brings healing, and this decreased crit rate debuff as well stops the Clan Boss critting you, so it really helps you to live longer. An amazing champ. I use him in a sort of very similar boss. I guess the most similar boss to Clan Boss is where I use Claude, which is Iron Twins Fortress, where he's also God tier. Super, super good. I use him in my team. The increased accuracy there is even more useful. Easy enough to build accuracy for Demon Lord Clan Boss. Very tough for Iron Twins. So I love to see Hell Hades come in and show off Claude and what he could do. And the shielding between these two plus the strengthen and the ally protection. And that was enough to keep them alive for turns and turns and turns. It was just crazy. He was going for 70-something turns against this Clan Boss. It's just absolutely insane. And then Anchorite Cleansing being the buff extender. That was very clever. It's just such a good team. It's just an amazing job. Like, it really is. Like, it's quite funny as a forfeit video. I think it's a nice forfeit video to do, right? To praise the winner, to wear our cloaks of invisibility. But at the same time, it's not a difficult forfeit to do, because it's like you got to praise someone. But I mean, it's easy. It's not hard when it's this easy to lavish some praise on. And to be fair to everyone else, I've tried to do as well in this video is call out some of the really cool things with their teams. And I think everyone is probably going to do a deep dive video diving into their teams. I don't know if me and Cold Brew will. Like, I don't feel like I will, because I don't recommend my team at all. It's not great, to be honest. So I don't know. But yeah, like, man, people just did. It was a great job and great fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed the Clover Draft that Deadwood's been putting on. Make sure to show him all the love and support. Every, like and positive comment and all of that lets us know, lets Deadwood know. Most important as well, let's Plarium know that, this is something you guys want to see. And hopefully we see more of this stuff, It's definitely something that sort of organizing this is such a huge job. That's definitely something that's way out of my comfort zone. But like, Deadwood is just on another level when it comes to putting these events together. So yeah, I personally would love to see more of this stuff, whether I'm in it or whether I'm viewing. I don't mind, but I would love to see more of these sorts of events in future. I think all of you would as well. Hell, Hades is probably going to come in and win the next Clan Boss draft too, by the looks of things. But I mean, it's worth it if we get to see innovation on this level. Who would have thought that you could get, like, this does more damage than my actual Clan Boss team. I use Bat Eater. It does more damage than my actual main Clan Boss team on my main account. He has beaten that with epics only. What the heck? What the heck? It's just nuts. So there you go. Look, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you picked up some tips. Again, what I would say, if you're building these teams, like, what I've learned was definitely syncing your cooldowns. The amount of turns you're taking versus the boss actually has a huge impact. I think ally protection is insane. It just basically halves the damage you're taking, which lets you live so much longer. But ally protection on a 3-turn and extending it is absolutely huge. Strengthen blew my mind. Increase speed, letting you go at these speed tunes. A buff extender to make it consistent. And that seems to be, I think that's the big takeaway. That is the key for what lets you build a successful team. Certainly when I look at my draft from that, it looks pretty dodgy. I definitely missed that mark with my picks for sure, but that's okay. I had some fun, learned a lot. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time. Take off this stupid underpants, and I'll see you all then. Goodbye.